Aprile Millo. Aprile Millo, born April 14, 1958, is an American operatic soprano of Italian and Irish ancestry who is particularly admired for her interpretations of the works of Giuseppe Verdi. Possessing a spinto voice of power, warmth, and temperament, Millo became one of the most celebrated opera singers of the late 20th century. Although she has performed at many of the world's leading opera houses and with many orchestras and ensembles internationally, Millo has spent much of her career appearing in productions at the Metropolitan Opera. Background and early career. Aprile Millo was born in New York City, the daughter of two opera singers, tenor Giovanni Millo John Hamill and soprano Margherita Girosi. Millo became interested in music at an early age and received her musical education primarily from her parents. After graduating from Hollywood High School in 1976, she was invited to join the San Diego Opera Center as an apprentice, where she took part in the inaugural program and where as a member she sang the High Priestess in Ada. In several European trips, she was to win several important singing competitions, including first prize in the Concorso Internazionale di Voci Verdi in Busseto, Italy 1978, the Montserrat Cabell Bernat Marti Special Verdi Prize Award in Barcelona 1979, and the Geraldine Farrar Award 1980. After leaving the San Diego Opera, Millo sang her first major role, the title role of Verdi's Ada, with Utah Opera in January 1980. She returned to Utah Opera in early 1981, performed the role of Santuzza in Mascagni's Cavalleria Rusticana. Millo moved to New York City and auditioned for the New York City Opera, where her father had sung from 1942 until 1946, and she was offered a contract with several roles. The Metropolitan Opera also offered the 22-year-old to become a member of the Met's Young Artist Program, as well as to cover leading roles. Up until this point, Millo had studied voice exclusively with her parents. While in the Met's program, she worked with Dick Marzallo, and then only with David Stavanger and Rita Patane. She also had the opportunity to work with Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, who took her to Herbert von Karajan, and with mentors Renata Tebaldi, Zinka Milanov, and Lisha Albanese. In November 1982, Millo made her European debut as Ada at the Badisches Staatstheater Karlsruhe in Karlsruhe, Germany, and in December at La Scala as Elvira in Ernani, when she replaced soprano Myrla Freni, who had taken ill. In January 1983, she had performances of Ernani at La Scala of her own. She made her New York debut with Eve Queller and the Opera Orchestra of New York in November 1984, singing Matilda in Rossini's Guillaume Tell. On December 3, 1984, Millo made her Metropolitan Opera debut, dramatic fashion, replacing an ailing soprano as Amelia in Verdi's Simon Bickengra with James Levine on the podium. The critics praised Millo's performance, with the New York Times proclaiming that her voice had a breadth and a shining ring that would have won her a mid-scene ovation in any Italian opera house. Shortly thereafter, Millo won two major awards for classical singers, the coveted Richard Tucker Award 1985 and the Maria Callas Foundation Award 1986. Career highlights. In 1986, Aprile Millo made her Carnegie Hall debut with Verdi's I Lombardi alla prima crociata with tenor Carlo Bergonzi and Eve Queller and the Opera Orchestra of New York. In the intervening years, she has sung over 160 performances of 15 different roles at the Metropolitan Opera, including Leonora in Il Trovatore, Ada, Tosca, Amelia in Simon Bickengra, and Amelia in Un ballo in Mastura. Millo's debut recording in 1986 was presenting Aprile Millo with the London Symphony and Giuseppe Patane. She has recorded several Verdi operas, with James Levine and the Metropolitan Opera for Sony Classical, including Ada, Il Trovatore, Luisa Miller, and Don Carlo. In 1989, she opened the Metropolitan Opera season starring as Ada opposite Placido Domingo. The performance was recorded live for telecast and DVD release, which won an Emmy. A CD studio recording was made, with mostly the same singers, the year after. Her 1991 performance of Un ballo in Maschera, with Luciano Pavarotti, was released on CD and DVD. Millo toured with the Metropolitan Opera to Japan in 1988 and 1993, returning in 1989, 1990, and 1991 for solo recitals. Millo debuted with the Lyric Opera of Chicago in 1991 as Margarita in Boito's Mephistopheles. The following year, she debuted with the Bavarian State Opera as Leonora in La Forza del Destino, and with the San Francisco Opera as Medeilna de Coigny in Andrea Chenier. She appeared as Giselda for the Metropolitan Opera's first ever performance of Verdi's I Lombardi, again with Pavarotti and Levine, in late 1993. A car accident in Torino briefly sidelined Millo and forced her to cancel Caterina Cornaro in New York. That same year, she performed Medeilna in Andrea Chenier, with Luciano Pavarotti in his debut in the title role. She reprised the role of Medeilna in 2002 with Domingo, and in 2007 with Ben Heppner. In 1993, Millo made a debut in the bel canto role of Imagen of Il Pirata by Vincenzo Bellini at About Bilbao in 3 performances on 1, 4, and 7 October, along Bruno Pratico as Ernesto and Ramon Vargas in the part of Gualtiero. In 1997, Millo sang her first Tosca at the Liceu, Barcelona, with Giacomo Arrigol and Juan Pons, followed by performances of that opera at La Scala and at the Met. Other Metropolitan Opera performances include Mephistopheles 1999, 2000, and Gioconda in La Gioconda 2006. Millo has also performed several roles with the Opera Orchestra of New York. In 2005, Millo also appeared for Teatro Grattacielo in the neglected Verismo opera Zaza, which had not been performed in New York since 1927. Millo has performed in the world's opera houses, including Frankfurt, Barcelona, Parma, Rome, Bologna, Torino, the Arena of Verona, the Baths of Caracalla, Cincinnati Opera, Munich, Berlin, Vienna, Zurich, Paris, Orange, Moscow. She returned to the stage in her debut of Puccini's Il Tabarro as Giorgetta in Genoa at the Teatro Carlo Fellis in 2014. After an absence of 10 years from the stage in New York City Opera presented Millo a 2019 recital in Carnegie Hall. In 2018, she was awarded the coveted Lifetime Achievement Award, the Verdi d'Oro, by the Amici di Verdi of Busseto, Italy, one of only 14 people to receive it in its 46-year history. Renata Tebaldi and Carlo Bergonzi, Luciano Pavarotti, and Placido Domingo are among just a few of the illustrious past winners. Millo co-founded with Dr. Maria Vetter a summer vocal program in Busseto, Italy in 2014, after inaugurating in Urbania. Operavision Academy is now in its 5th year. Millo writes her own blog, called Operavision. Critical reception. Millo is noted for the beauty of her voice and her nuanced interpretation. On April 4, 1986, Donal Henahan wrote in the New York Times of Millo's performance in Don Carlo, "Miss Millo sounds more and more like the Verdi soprano we've been waiting for." Later in 1986, June 18, reviewing a Metropolitan Opera production of Ada in Central Park, Mr. Rockwell wrote, "Miss Millo has a real Verdi sound. Her darkly yet delicately colored lower voice, full of urgency in the phrasing, and her overall mastery of this role from a technical and interpretive standpoint are already very moving. Her performance reached its high point just where it must in the third act, when Ada grows from a supplicating ingenue into a woman torn by her conflicts. With singing like this, nothing could dull the intensity of Verdi's drama. The concert formality, the populist setting, the amplification, all fell away in the face of real operatic drama embodied in song. If Mr. Domingo and Mr. Pavarotti can match that in the next two parks openers, the Met and its fans will be fortunate indeed. Roles and discography. Videography. The Metropolitan Opera Gala 1991, Deutsche Grammophon DVD 44073 4582. James Levine's 25th Anniversary Metropolitan Opera Gala 1996, Deutsche Grammophon DVD E 4629.